Like you, I've experimented with so many morning routines over the years, and every time one failed, I felt frustrated, discouraged, and I felt like a failure. But lately, I found something that actually works for me, and I've been wanting to share it with you for quite some time now. So finally, in this video, I'm going to give you an inside look into what I do in the morning to get my unmedicated ADHD autistic brain firing on all cylinders. Let's be clear though, I'm not sharing this so it becomes your next routine to fail at, not for you to copy and paste and then feel rubbish when it doesn't magically fix everything. But I am sharing it to give you inspiration, ideas, and most importantly, underlying principles and strategies that can help you build a morning routine that is suitable for your brain and your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Jamie Vasilian, the Hypnosis for ADHD specialist, just another neurodiverse brain who's dedicated his life to cracking the code of neurodivergence and helping others find their own recipes for success. If you haven't already, please support this channel by liking and subscribing for more neurospicy content designed to inspire and transform your life from the inside out. Research and lived experience shows that most of us with ADHD have an owl chronotype. We take longer to get going in the morning, and also it takes a lot more to get us to fall asleep. And this can be easily become extreme and unhealthy, especially when life demands early starts, like when working or parenting. So when we're an ADHD owl, we need dynamite to get moving. Sure, meds can help, but guzzling coffee isn't a sustainable solution. One of the best tools? A properly constructed morning routine. Not just any morning routine though, one designed for your uniquely wired brain and your lifestyle. One that helps boost energy, mood, and focus. Now, I made a previous video on the theory of ADHD and morning routines, which I think you'll find helpful. If you haven't watched it already, you can check that out here, or it will be in the suggested video at the end of this one. But today's video is more practical. I'm sharing my current morning routine, not to suggest you copy it, but to help you see what might work for you and how to design something that actually fits your needs. After all, we're all different and we're all leading different lifestyles. Waking at the same time every day is crucial. Inconsistent wake times creates jet lag for your brain, confusing your circadian rhythm, your biological clock, which leads to low energy, poor mood, poor focus, brain fog, and even worse, time blindness. But if you wake up at the same time every day, your brain and body will have a stable sense of time and therefore energy, knowing when you're meant to be awake and giving you the energy and focus at the time when you need it most. You could say, when you wake up at the same time every day like clockwork, your biological clock will work. Another crucial thing to remember here is, rather than thinking, but I'm too tired in the morning to do anything, I've got zero energy, it's time to remember that when you wake up at the same time and you activate your biological clock, your energy system, and I'm going to share with you some of the ways that you can achieve that and how I do it, you actually program your body and brain to create and release energy when you need it most. So in short, yes, rest days are okay, but generally get up at the same time, even if you're tired. Instead of having lions, do your best to go to bed earlier instead. We wake up dehydrated. After all, we've been asleep for many hours. So the first thing I do on waking, I drink a glass or two of clean water. Sometimes with a pinch of natural salt like Himalayan or Celtic. This helps rehydrate and wake me up. Avoid refined table salt, however, because of the way it is processed, it could be dehydrating. Or if you prefer, you could use an electrolyte solution. In winter, I use a sad lamp as part of my alarm. And what with the dark winters we have in the UK, I have to rely more on artificial light at that time of year, which is nowhere near as effective as natural light, but does help me get by in the darker months. Either way, it's also important to get moving. Some mornings it's a jog for me, other days it's just walking or stretching or throwing sticks for my dog. Fetch! Go on, Cass. Get it! It's important, according to your personality, to find some kind of movement and exercise that you enjoy, and a little variety can help sometimes. And also helps to be flexible as well, so you can adapt the routine depending upon the day's circumstances, what you need, and what you've got time for. I also like sprinting sometimes, and that's how I used to get through grueling 14-hour shifts as a care worker years back. Trust me, if you wake up in the morning and you start sprinting, your heart will be pounding and you will be awake for the rest of the day. But these days, at age 46, my sprinting is much more modest, with occasional sprints every now and then of only 10 seconds. It's just as effective though at this age, because at this age, that's enough. So anyway, light exposure and movement is an essential part of our morning routine, And even 10 to 20 minutes makes a big difference. Not only will you have more energy and focus and improved mood in the morning when you remember to include this habit as part of your morning routine, but you will notice that your sleep improves as well. This is because the natural light exposure and movement increases serotonin levels, which then converts to more melatonin on the evening, which is that hormone that promotes deeper and more regular sleep. First, stimulate, then relax. You're probably wondering what the heck I mean by that. Well, let me explain. In the past, I used to start with meditation in the morning and other relaxing or sedentary activities on waking. But it makes more sense, especially when you have ADHD, to wake the body first and do relaxing stuff afterwards. Sometimes just changing the order of your routine can make a big difference. This improves energy, focus, and even sleep, thanks to increased morning serotonin, which becomes melatonin at night. And if part of your morning routine, for example, is to meditate, pray, practice mindfulness, journal, or some other similar sedentary activity, then think about it. It makes sense to start with the physical activity first because it switches your brain on and helps you focus on what you're about to do next. So after I've hydrated and gone outdoors to move and see the light, next up I go back indoors for some more relaxing activity. I use a device called the David Alert Pro. Think of it like jump leads for your brain. It's a brain stimulation or brainwave entrainment device that uses light, sound, and SES, which is cranial electrostimulation, to boost energy and focus. This, for me, is like my meds. I combine this with morning prayer meditation. Doing both together saves time and enhances the effect. Since I've become more aware that I may not only have ADHD, but also be autistic, in other words, ADHD, I've come to think of my David device as being like a portable sensory room for my brain and a way to visually stim. I find the experience very enjoyable, and it reminds me of the kaleidoscopes we used to play with as children. But of course, this device also acts to stimulate the brain in the morning with light, which is another way of getting that dopamine hit that everyone talks about, and also activating the circadian rhythm or biological clock using light telling your brain that the day has begun. Another favorite tool is red light therapy, especially in winter. Warmth stimulates energy production in cells and combats seasonal affective disorder. And yes, you've guessed it, warmth also increases the circadian rhythm, so it gives us more energy and focus. Sometimes I combine the red light with the David device on summer days that are overcast, and during the longer, darker winter months that we have here in the UK, the David combined with red light has become a lifesaver. In the winter, I might be more likely to set the David device to a white light setting, which tends to be good for seasonal affective disorder, whilst the use of red light also feels very similar to sitting in the sun, which in some ways it is because the sun emits red light. If you try this, however, be careful with red light near your eyes. When I use it, I direct it to my chest, not my face, and when using brain stimulation and red light therapy, you can overdo these things. For example, red light therapy is safest and works best when you cycle it. In other words, using it one day followed by a day of rest. Be sure to do your research and consult with a health professional if necessary. So by sharing my routine with you and some of the principles and strategies, I hope you've noticed one of the major takeaways here. You don't need a long routine. You need an effective one. As an example, I had a client with a 4-hour morning routine, but we trimmed it down to just 1 hour just by combining elements of the routine together. For example, meditating plus brainwave entrainment plus breathwork together, and the result, same or better benefits in less time. Recently, I've done something similar, combining running with a PEMF device, which stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Therapy. This is another form of brain stimulation therapy, which I can simply wear as a headband whilst running. I was also practicing breathing exercises for increased energy and focus after my run, which would add on another 5 or so minutes. But then I remembered the principle of combination therapy and decided to add breath holds to my run, saving time but also combining 3 practices in one for synergistic benefits. Breath holds are exactly what the name implies, running whilst holding your breath. I'll do about 2 minutes running, followed by holding my breathing whilst running for as long as I can and repeat. Why on earth would you do this though, you might be wondering? It's a good question. After all, it's certainly not pleasant. Well, breath holds can be powerful. They help train your body to use oxygen more efficiently and boost focus. But just a heads up, They do put some stress on your body, raising blood pressure and making your heart and lungs work a bit harder, especially during exercise. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. It's what's called a hormetic stressor, meaning a small controlled stress actually makes your body more resilient over time. There's a saying that fits here. It's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And of course, if I'm running low on time for some reason, I found that the breath holds during a shorter run can increase that hormetic stress response, as well as the lung capacity and oxygen utilization over time, which means that a shorter but more intense run can be more effective at waking me up than a longer run. It's a great thing to do when when you have less time. So in other words, one of the principles here is scaling. And this is great because if we have ADHD, there are ways to make our morning routines more powerful to give our ADHD brains that morning boost that it needs without necessarily making our routines any longer than necessary. Saunas, lifting weights, cold plunges, and even meditation are all forms of hormetic stressors. But like all stressors, it's about the dose. So go easy, listen to your body, and if you've got any health conditions like chronic fatigue, definitely check with your doctor first. So to summarize the strategies and principles from today's video, number 1, wake at the same time every day. That is number 1. Number 2, hydrate with clean water and natural salt or electrolytes. 3, get morning light and move your body. 4, stimulate first, then relax. 5, stack and combine modalities to not only save precious time, but also to increase their effectiveness through synergy. And finally, 6, tailor it to your brain, not mine or anyone else's. And remember, this is your journey. Now, I hope that you found this inspiring and helpful today. And if this gave you new ideas or helped you rethink your own morning routine, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you've got any questions about any of the practices or devices shared in today's video, then do leave your questions in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to learn more about brainwave entrainment and stimulation for ADHD, one of the modalities that I shared in today's video, such as the David Alert device, then be sure to download the Neurospicy Guide to Brainwave Entrainment. You can find the link for that in the description below. And also check back in future as well, because I have more juicy content planned on this particular topic. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and bye for now.